time to time here on All In, we are honored to have guests roll back through studio time and time again. And let me tell you what, there's one big reason that that's the case. The big reason, especially for the guests today, is the fact they have so much great information that can help all of us in so many ways. We can't do it on one show. A lot of times we can't do it on two shows. So there's multiple times we get them in studio. Today is one of those days. We're honored to have with Strategic Training Partners, Mr. Frank Gustafson, our repeat guest. One more time, Frank. Welcome aboard. How are you?
Brian, thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here, bro.
Well, it's always fun having you come in here. I mean, you're just a good guy. You're fun to talk to, but I don't think it's too much of a stretch. You have so much information out there in a variety of fields, specifically helping people with their staffs as far as sales and sales management goes. You've been doing it a while.
There's a lot to know, man.
Well, there's a lot to know, and you know a lot. And back before you had the training company, you were actually one of those guys. You're out there in the field. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, 35 years. Carrying a quota, carrying a bag, sales manager, sales VP, owned a couple of businesses, 35 years.
Well, and
it's all about sales.
It's everything's all about sales.
Yeah.
Even people that don't think they're in sales are in sales.
That is true.
Anybody that's wearing a company uniform with a name on it, they're in sales. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Is that too far of a stretch?
No, not at all. We talked about that Ziegler quote one time when I was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way, and if you're not selling, you're unselling. That's a whole other ball game there that we'll talk about.
Truth.
Well, your true passion is sales and sales management because you've done it for so long, but now you've taken that passion to a whole other level because you saw a need out there. People don't know what they're doing, and that's how you got into this whole training biz. Talk to me. You touched on it before about the fact that a lot of times we'll have people that are really good salespeople, and they'll say, you need to be in management. And most of the time, they're not trained to be in management, are they?
Been there, done that, read the book, suffered the slings and arrows of that whole thing.
Sure.
I think number one, sales management is probably the hardest job in the building. I think it arguably is the hardest job in the building. Mm-hmm. And what happens to most great salespeople?
They die as sales managers.
They get promoted to sales manager,
and
right?
then what happens, though?
Well, unfortunately, most of them don't get trained.
Yeah.
There's a statistic that we talk about in Sandler, and I think it actually might be a little high, but it's 1 in 20 are formally trained, and there's
1 in 20.
And the burnout and the low satisfaction, the high turnover in sales management is ridiculous. It's horrible.
Do you see situations, and I'm afraid the answer to this is going to be yes, but I'll ask it anyway. The number one salesperson becomes a sales manager, and then all of a sudden, they don't like doing that. They can't go back to sales, so they leave and go to the competitor and become the number one salesperson again.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're a great salesperson and you try your hand at sales management because you figure, look, I'm good at motivating people, naturally they're gonna want to glean the wisdom that I've got as a sales guy, but they're two totally separate jobs. And then when they get asked to leave, been there, done that, right? Where are you going to go? You go back to what you love. You go back to what you know, and that's sales.
Yeah, I know where I'm going. I'm going to that competitor across town because a good salesperson, I learned a long time ago, can sell their competition as well as they can sell their sale because you got to know everything about them to be able to sell against them.
A great salesperson is never going to starve.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me about what we're up to these days. What are you doing out there to help people with sales management?
So we just started a brand new sales management class, and I'm excited about it. It motivates the heck out of me. I actually didn't think that I would love it more than training sales, but I do. I really enjoy it, and I think it's because of the fact that having been a sales manager, untrained, and just so you're a good salesperson. Somebody says, hey, you want to be the sales manager? You say, heck yeah, I want to be the sales manager, right? Fame, fortune, you get some power, right? Mm-hmm. You go in there and you take a run at it. You have no training, but you think, why wouldn't these people do what it is that I have done in the past? And trying to transfer that knowledge, that wisdom, that skill that you've got as a salesperson is a totally different game than really understanding the hats that you have to wear as a sales manager and the things that you have to do as a sales manager. It is a completely different job.
In a lot of cases, it's even a different skill set.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a salesperson, do you really know how to supervise? Do you really know how to train? Do you really know how to coach? Do you really know how to mentor? Those are the 4 hats that we have to wear as a sales manager, as a sales leader. Nobody taught them that. Right?
We've talked before too, Frank. I'm real big on personality styles. And as a manager, you're working with people with a variety of personality styles, which means you need to have a variety of management styles because different people need to be managed in different ways. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think that's very fair to say. And as a salesperson, you get frustrated with a client, you can move on to the next client. As a sales manager, you've got to figure it out.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out how to deal with salespeople. I mean, it's like herding cats, and you've got to deal with it.
I like that. It's like herding cats.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. Does a sales manager need to have a sales background?
That's a good question, and I don't know that I've got a great answer for that. I don't think it hurts to have a sales background, but again, it's a totally different set of skills.
Sure.
What does selling have to do with recruiting and hiring and onboarding? I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're a great salesperson and you have to take on this recruiting role, do you run the risk of selling people on coming to work for your organization, even if they're not the right person? Yeah, you do. So can it be a detriment? Yeah, sure it can. It sure can.
Then what about does sales management? Well, does it cross industries? Like if I'm a good sales manager in this industry and I move over to this industry, will I be able to be a good sales manager there?
Well, again, so if you can supervise, if you've got the skills, if you understand the attitudes, the behaviors, and the techniques, and you know how to supervise, you know how to train, you know how to coach, and you know how to manage, then I don't see why you wouldn't be able to transfer those skills to a different organization. Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough.
Absolutely. And so those are the hats that you wear. And then as a sales manager, what you're doing, you're recruiting, you're hiring, you're onboarding, right? And then you're developing and growing a team. And I think that's something that a lot of sales managers might miss is that you've got to constantly be growing too.
Fair enough.
So you're bringing on a new team, you're developing that team, growing that team, and you've always got to be growing yourself as well. Critically important.
Well, as we're rolling right along, rolling into a new year here, it's been a little different lately, but as far as teaching you new class and stuff, we're still doing it all. You're not getting a lot of people in person. How have you found that to be? Has it worked out well for you?
It's interesting. When COVID hit, we moved immediately to Zoom, and our business has taken off. Our business increased. We doubled our business last year.
Good for you.
It's opened a lot of things up. And you remember when Texas kind of gave us that head fake like we were going to come out of COVID?
Yeah, we're going to, yeah.
I asked my class, I said, do you guys want to go back to the classroom? You want to stay on Zoom? And they said, can we stay on Zoom? And I'm like, is that because of traffic? Is that you don't want the commute? Or what is it? And they said, no. When you've got everybody there on the screen, on Zoom, you can see the whites of their eyes. It facilitates discussions, and all of them felt more comfortable with that. I've got one guy that actually comes into my classroom, and the rest of them are all on Zoom, and it's because he's on the 3rd floor, I'm on the 1st floor.
Okay, so it's easy for him to walk downstairs without trying to get logged into the call.
Yeah.
Well, like I mentioned before you came in today, Frank, it's always fascinating to hear the things you're up to, and you're always bettering yourself as a business owner, and in your training deal. This whole new module that you've got coming out there, it really sounds fascinating. I look forward to hearing more about that, and you know what? I bet we'll have you back in here pretty soon.
Well, I appreciate that, Brian. Hey, one of the things that I do every single month is I do an executive briefing every single month. I've got a website, stpbrief.com. All
right, I'll tell you what, folks, I'm out of time. stpbrief.com. Just a smidgen of what Frank does. Check it out. I got to roll.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
You, brother.